Laura and Jack were both frustrated. Laura was the new manager with some pretty big directives from the leadership, and Jack had been around forever, and he knew the company inside and out. The business climate at that time was changing, and so the company kind of was in an adjustment period. Laura spoke with large, inspiring visions and asked the team to do big things. Jack really couldn't see the purpose in all these things and kind of resisted pretty big time. He saw the new measures as unfair and unbalanced, and he was confused because they didn't even really seem consistent with the company values and the mission. Laura saw herself as the messenger, setting an inspiring roadmap for the way ahead. But soon, both of them were so discontent that Jack was totally checked out, and Laura was secretly trying to figure out a nice way to help Jack to a new role. No one wants to go to work with this type of feeling on Jack or Laura's side. It was miserable and frustrating and totally deflating for both of them. In this case, Jack was operating from the CliftonStrengths Consistency talent, and Laura had no idea. Hi there, welcome to the Isogo TV podcast from isogostrong.com. I am Becky Hammond, your host, and you and I gather here on this podcast to fixate on strength in our families and on our teams. Because when we start from assuming strength, we can make relationships easier. This is episode 106, and we are in a series right now about how to make relationships easier with our strengths. Today, we're chatting all about one of the 34 Clifton strengths, the consistency strength. It's so easy to see the negative and focus in on that, in ourselves and in others too. But you can really impact relationships by emphasizing the positive, the strengths that you already have. Yet sometimes, as you probably already know, that line between what you use as a strength and what can negatively affect your relationships, it's kind of a thin one, and it can be hard to navigate. So let's continue to take a look at what making relationships easier looks like through the lens of consistency. So here's a little bit about your consistency strength. Your consistency strength has you wired to seek and protect fairness. And actually, did you know that originally when StrengthsFinder was created, this talent theme, consistency, was actually called fairness? That framework has really helped me see the power and the beauty of it. If you have consistency strength, you intuitively see the disparities in the treatment of people and you want to rectify that. Most often you'll crave or even create policies and procedures that establish guidelines that really the whole point is to ensure fair and consistent processes. And that creates cultural predictability and stability that helps people feel secure in your role as a leader or at home with a family. When I started brainstorming for this episode, I rattled off a couple handfuls of people in my life and my clients who operate from consistency strength. The thing that struck me, I think for the first time, is what a wide variety of expressions consistency has. That's true of all 34 Clifton strengths because every combination creates a different expression. But for some reason, I'm really seeing it even more so with consistency. If your consistency strength is paired with predominantly relationship themes, it's all about human fairness and fair treatment for people. If it's paired with executing theme, it's expressed itself more in like a high need for standard operating procedures and fair rules and guidelines. So, how does this consistency strength show up in relationships? Let's talk about it in home and work environments. In the home or family environment, your consistency can naturally provide the structure and predictability that kids thrive under. While the outcome might not always be equal, you will feel passionate about making it fair. And as you explain this to your family, it sets things to go more smoothly between siblings. It can cause some friction at home though when you feel that things aren't fair, like an inequitable division of work between you and a spouse. So watch out for those feelings of unfairness that arise and don't let them go unaddressed between you and your partner. In a team or a work environment, consistency talent operates best when you're in an environment that recognizes and honors fairness. You'll feel most comfortable and even energized by structured environments with clear expectations where the standards are not only set, but they're also upheld. In the case of Jack and Laura from the opening story, they were at an impasse because Jack's consistency strength was telling him that the big swooping vision didn't seem right and fair. And they were both about to give up. But the reason I love this story is because they didn't give up. About the time that Laura was helping Jack get resumes ready to see him out, she discovered that he had this consistency strength. And as she explored it, she realized that he wasn't digging in his heels to be difficult, but because she had assumed that the big vision was enough. But it wasn't. What he needed were the details and the why, the background. So she tried it. She gave him some more context. And you know what happened? He understood the details behind it. And then he saw ways to bring structure and fairness around the new initiatives. And instead of being the biggest barrier, he became one of the biggest advocates for it. I mean, what an awesome story of using the StrengthsFinder language and talent to make relationships easier. Together, hitting goals and then enjoying it along the way. So let's talk a bit about what you can do with your consistency strength to help make relationships easier around you. First, set up your systems and make them known, and be willing to adjust along the way. So whether at work or at home, you create stability by creating fair systems that treats everyone equally. So do it. And if you want to be even more effective, seek the input of the people around you who will be affected by the system too. Since this is likely a strong value for you, be sure that others know the heart behind the policy and procedures and structures. It's not just that you're trying to be rigid, but trying to treat people well. It will also help your relationships if you're willing to take a look at those policies and the structure and the procedure every once in a while and kind of make course corrections when things have changed, just like Jack ended up doing. So the first action is to set up systems and be sure that others know about the heart of your structure. And then second is reframe your mindset of consistency. Just like we've been talking about in this series, much of using our strengths to make relationships easier is about truly buying into and adopting the strengths perspective mindset. One that chooses to fixate on what is right with people instead of on what is wrong. And the most productive and meaningful strengths mindset is one that knows and dials in your own strengths while accepting and appreciating the strengths of the people that are around you. So for consistency strength, your ideal mindset has to do with recognizing, like Jack did, that not everyone can see or cares about the imbalance like you do. You see things intuitively that other people don't. They are likely not trying to be unfair, they just don't see it the way that you do. So you have to share it with them in a way that will get through and not just detract from the bigger picture. And let's be real here. It's not always going to land with everybody, as is true of every other strength. But as you sharpen your natural ability to see and create fairness and then share your heart in it with others around you will begin to see and appreciate it as well. And you can use that awareness of your consistency strength to make relationships easier at work and at home. So there we have it. A bit about how you can use your consistency strength to make relationships easier around you, in your family, or on your team. If you operate from the consistency strength, or you know someone who does, I'd love to know how this episode sits with you. You are the one who is living and breathing this strength. How does it work well in your relationships? And where do you still find that you need to work to fine-tune it? So head over to Instagram and tag or direct message me at Isogo Strong with your thoughts on what consistency looks like in your relationships at work or at home. And that's spelled ISOGO STRONG, Isogo Strong. And if you're even more curious about impacting the relationships around you by fixating on strength instead of weakness, I'd love to help give you a jump start as your virtual coach. It's super easy to start, and since you listened today, I'd love to also give you $5 off the Strength Startup Virtual Coach Kickstarter. In this email coaching series from me, you'll get insights into your talents and strengths, as well as some action that you can take to make relationships easier around you. If you go over to isogostrong.com/strengthsstartup, you can check it out. And then if you use the code VIRTUALCOACH5, you'll get $5 off. I'd be honored to get a chance to get to know you. You and your strengths have the power to make a ripple effect in your family, on your team, and then ultimately across the entire world. You can make relationships easier as you fixate on strength in your family and on your team. So dial them in, take ownership for your mindset, and make those relationships easier. Until next time on Isogo TV.